There we go. So as I was saying, so my name's Safa. I am a practicing craniosacral therapist in London. I've studied other modalities of distance healing, like vortex healing, Reiki. Um, Most of my distance healing attunement or capacity to connect with field has actually come from working with psychedelics. So that is that's my background, and this session is not designed to teach you how to do distance work in an hour, but it is designed to go quite deep into what we are all getting involved in and what some people, have Barbara rightly mentioned, has some reservations about. So those of us who have a background in craniosacral therapy or who are practicing, we've already received the announcement that distance craniosacral therapy is not to be called distance craniosacral therapy. So I'm not going to get into that too much, but I am going to cover things such as the client considerations. So I'm just going to share my presentation with you. Bear with me. And you should still be able to see me and also be able to see my presentation. If anyone can't see the presentation, can you type in the chat? Everyone can see. Cool. If anything comes up during this, just type in the chat. Okay, so we're here for Beyond the Body, demystifying distance healing. First of all, I really want to say thank you to everyone for joining, and I'm looking for this to be quite interactive, especially at the end when we come together and start to talk about our experiences in the field. I want to start by saying distance healing work is ancient. It's really, really ancient. And although now in society, the way we are currently structured, it feels like it's something new or like it's something frontier or new age, it's ancient. And we must remember that because that's what provides us the ground. It's practitioner led. By that, I mean, this is really all about the depth of the practitioner. That is what affects the quality of the work and the resonance of the work. I would say, we can come to this at the end as well if people disagree. I would say more so than in-person hands-on work. Let's present this nicely. Okay, so distance work is beneficial for certain clients. We're going to go into detail about what those types of clients, what they look like, what their qualities and characteristics are. Clients who are in a particular place in their healing journey, it's beneficial for particular types of practitioners who are in a particular place of their embodiment of their work. It's not going to be for everyone. We are not going to be able to, as therapists, take our existing client base of hands-on body type of work and just expect that we can transition over. And I don't think anyone does expect to do that. I have heard that people who are trying to do that are finding it difficult, right? I'm going to explain why that's not so easy to do later on in the presentation. Distance healing work is beyond the body. That's why I call this session Beyond the Body. Sorry, the lighting in here is a little bit weird, but the sun will go down soon. It's beyond the body, which means we are working with more than physical information. And for those of us, I think most of us here are open to the emotional realm, other aspects, the mental realm, the ancestral realm, karmic, etc. And as we go vaster and vaster and vaster into the collective realm, which becomes especially important at this point in time, we really are going beyond the body. If we go back to point 2, beneficial for certain types of client, we're coming into a bit of more of an understanding about why distance healing work, which is inherently quantum, is beneficial for certain types of clients who are in a certain place in their healing journey. And a lot of that depends on how the practitioner translates information. So I've come up with this concept of, as I was writing this presentation and putting it together, which is use the D's: depth, discernment, due diligence, and do not doubt yourself when you're in the process. Do all your doubting before you go into the process, so that when you're in, you're clear. So what are we going to cover? I'm not a quantum physicist by any means, I can assure you, but I do find it really fascinating, and my work with psychedelics has taken me into various quantum fields in terms of like being able to see it and work with it, and I find it all very, very fascinating, like the whole mystery of it. We're going to touch on why the quantum field is relevant to distance healing work. And the main point there is that because it brings up so much information, I'm just going to change this so you can see without the light in my face. There we go. Because it brings up so much information, that's why it's relevant. We're going to talk about embracing the field, so what that actually means. I'm going to offer you guys some tips, and at the end maybe we can also share with each other what you guys have maybe picked up from your work. I do a lot of my work by distance, and I've been doing a lot of my work by distance for a while, and getting used to that embracing of the field. We're going to talk about practitioner phenomenology, which is so hard to put into words, but so necessary for us to start verbalizing and anchoring the practitioner experience, which is inherently connected to the client experience, in words. And this is important because it comes down to a question that somebody asked me. She's not on this call, but she's going to catch the replay. She asked me the question of, does the craniosacral sector need to formalize the energetic component of the work so that clients can understand, have a really clear understanding of what we do and what they're getting? So putting that out there as a question, but that's, for me, is why phenomenology and articulating it and being discerning enough and clear enough is important for us as practitioners and our clients. I'm going to talk about my protocol, but this is really just, it's not to say you guys need to be working like this. Our protocol needs to be, yes, safe and grounded, but it also and consistent, so it gets clients the results that they need, but it also needs to be personal. I'm going to take you guys through client and practitioner considerations, and there's like a whole load, because when I started to write this presentation, I was like, whoa, there is so much to consider, and it had all been in my head, and putting it down, I think, is going to be really useful for us to just double check, right, where we're at with regards to this work. I've got 3 case studies, and they're actually all real life case studies with the client's name removed, and they're a bit of a quiz. So I'm going to present the case, and then I'm going to go, is healing work right for them? Did I work with them by distance healing? And then we're going to go into our Q&A, which I'm probably most excited for, because it means I get to hear from you guys and hear about your work and what you experience in the field and with your clients. Quantum biology. Wow. I've called quantum biology the hidden nature of nature because it's everywhere. And I'm not going to go into any science of it because I'm not a scientist or a physicist, but it is so relevant to our field. Why? Because quantum biology is the transmutation of pure energy into form. Now, some of you guys have said you do your Qigong teachers, Tai Chi, even the biodynamic craniosacral work, even yoga. We are all actually working in this inherent quantum field. We exist in it. It is this, as far as we know, as human intellect goes, it's the smallest level of existence that we can come to measure or interact, not even measure, but interact with, because it's immeasurable. But it's the smallest known field. There might be things beyond this that we don't know. Why is it relevant? Because when we go into the distance space, the space of distance healing, we are working with quantum in the quantum field. And that means we are working with pure energy. Why is this relevant? I'm going to come to it later on in the work when I come to my protocol. The reason why I think this is really relevant is because when you embrace the quantum field as against the fluidic field or the physical field or the emotional field, you as a practitioner have a real responsibility when it comes to what you're adding to that field. Why? Because it's so pure. It's so pure. It's so light. It's fractals upon fractals upon fractals. The minute you embrace and step into that field, you are changing the field. You are a force in the field. And when you start working by distance, you start to notice how sensitive everything is to your presence. If you're working with clients by distance, the right type of clients, they will also be very sensitive to your presence in the field. So, quantum processes, they underlie all of our, why the plants and trees grow in our world and why we even get to eat. It's underlying everything. It's the way that enzymes work. It's all actually quantum mechanics. And it is pure potential when we look at it at its raw form. In its raw form, the quantum world is pure potential. It's literally just light, moving codes, everything and nothing. We make the story, right? And it's important for us as practitioners to remember that when we connect with a client in a quantum space, yes, we're connecting with their story and with their physical stuff and their pain and their trauma, but we are connecting also with pure potentiality. I personally prefer to work in that space, in that place, but it has to be the right client. It's a different, very different quality to hands-on work. I mean, of course it is. The space is different. Even if you do very vast off-the-body in-person work, it's still a very different sensation doing pure distance work. And then I found this really cute, which was a particle of energy. It's called an exciton. And I was like, oh, I'm getting excited about that. And it's called an exciton. I mean, doesn't that speak of, like, I'm doing this already. Like, it speaks to me of pure life force, like pure vibrancy. What do you want? It asks you, what do you want? So, the paradox of the quantum field, everything in the quantum field is a paradox, right? We will never understand it with our minds. The quantum biologists they are awesome. They are like us. They're like, I'm not going to say they're, like hippies or anything, but they're taking it very seriously. But they are okay with the mystery. They are okay with the paradoxes, right? The paradox that you can find two things that are in two completely different spaces and do something to one thing and it will react in the other item when they're completely separated. It's because time and space are complete illusions in the quantum field. I could really trip us out and be like, we've all been here before doing this. We all kind of know each other, but we kind of do. And when we open up to the quantum field, we open up to the paradox, the inherent paradox. And that is, how is that relevant to a distance healer going into the field? Intention influences the field, right? This is what I found really interesting in my work. The pure witness will watch and see what's happening. But how pure of a witness can you be when you've already set up a session with a client to allow them the opportunity to experience distance healing with you? You are already putting yourself in the field. You're already influencing the field. You are influencing a field of pure potential. So you've got to know yourself. What are you bringing into their field? What are you bringing into their life? You wouldn't just walk into a client's home if you didn't, and trampling all over their stuff with crap on your shoes. So the same goes for distance healing. And the clients that you're going to get that will embrace this work will be very, very sensitive to you and what you're doing there and whether you're meeting them there. So it's a paradox because we want to be the silent witness so we can be still, but we are already involved. The quantum field is information. I said this earlier. The quantum field is information carried through flow to form through intention. You guys might disagree with that completely. That's fine. I came up with that myself. It might be garbage. That's how I experience personally the field. Information that can mean everything and can be spun into a million stories, and it can mean nothing. Why is this relevant to our work as a healer or as therapists, whatever you want to call yourself? The minute we start making stories out of information, we add to density. We create patterns in the quantum field. So we need to know what we're creating, because our clients are probably creating enough. We're there to help them undo, right? Space. Their true nature is space. We are there to help them undo, not do. So if our thoughts affect the field, now you get to see why this is such sacred ground. Let's go to the next slide. So the next point I wanted to talk about was embracing the field. I'm going to just check and make sure that you guys don't have any questions in the chat. Okay, some of you know each other. Okay, cool. How do we present? 1 second. View, present. There we go. Okay, so I don't call it connecting because I think we're always connected to the field. I call it embracing the field because it's a conscious choice for me to embrace a client. I embrace them because we are in an exchange. This becomes important later when I talk about disconnecting or disembracing, whatever the word is. So most of you guys who are already working in the healing space, you're gonna get it. You're gonna know exactly how to embrace your client and start feeling with, where they are and what they need, right? It's almost like how you live, right? It's your bread and butter. So I'm not going to go into too much detail, but the main point here is in the quantum field, not only are all your senses being opened to all of this vast information, but your senses are the field. Your senses are the field. I'm just going to leave that there. It's trippy. We need to work in the field in a way that recognizes what the field is. What is it? What is the quantum field apart from the highest known intelligence that is the unknowable intelligence of all? We need, I believe, as therapists, to be able to trust what is happening in that field is for the client's highest good and is their inner healer expressing itself in the field. So that determines how much we need to do and what is doing. What do we classify in our therapist toolbox as doing, right? People have got lots and lots of ideas and tricks and tools about what they can do in a quantum field, right? Every modality will teach you something different. Oh, we can teach you how to create that and how to do that. And when you see someone's blocked there, you can do that. You can do loads of things, right? I try to do less, but we're all going to have our own approach. What I've learned through working by distance is that this is a co-creation, right? You might have a client that comes to you and is like, doesn't want to really own their creation part of it and just really wants you to heal them. It's a co-creation. pick the clients that are willing to co-create with you. Why? Because you will get results, it will be safer, it will be a clearer process of communication, and we'll come to that further down in the presentation when we talk about discerning the type of clients that are best suited for this type of work, in my opinion. Interpretation, description versus interpretation. When we go into the field, lots of information is pouring through. We're seeing, we're feeling, we're smelling, all that stuff. What I've noticed is as I watch the fractals of their undoing, the more I allow and the more I describe without needing to know or without needing to create a story or fix it to a story, like, oh, I know they came to see me because of a bad hip, so now I'm relating the work that's being done in the field to the bad hip. The more I stay open, the purer the experience, the faster the, I like to call them fractals, the faster the fractals are moving and the more space you are giving the whole process, right? If you imagine a thought created pattern, thought processes are quite heavy. That's why they bog us down. We want to keep thought and everything and stories out of it, way out of it. So description becomes important. Description without evaluation, when I'm talking about during a session. And then I said this earlier about it being a co-creation. Their tides, their movements are happening in you, your field. Because in a quantum field, your field is their field and their field is your field, right? So we start to go into a really interesting ground. I'm going to come to this when we talk about client considerations. Because when you have clients who you're drawn into strong dynamics with, projective identification, countertransference, you want to be really careful who you do distance work with for your own sake, safety, energetic integrity, sustainability, and for the clients as well. Because if they secretly think that you're their mum and they're treating you like that subconsciously and you've not picked it up for them yet, you start to work in the quantum field with them, you suddenly start to feel really old and tired the next day. You're not going to know why, right? You have to be really clear about who you're working with and your own energy system. We're going to come to that. So this is just something I thought was really, like, I see the quantum field. I see when I work with my clients in distance, I'm very visual. So I'm very visual and very feeling. So I see stuff like that, like energy moving and working. And because I've had a lot of psychedelic experiences and been holding space for medicine work in that context, I'm attuned to the purity of that. So every fractal is a healing fractal, and every fractal contains another fractal that's another healing fractal, and it's endless love, right? I know, because I've seen myself do it, when I get involved, I'm creating density immediately. Yes, I can be in a certain place of presence, spaciousness, and openness to allow and to somehow encourage an acceleration of what is already happening. But it's a really fine line. So I just want to, we'll come to that because I want to hear about all of your experiences. Practitioner phenomenology. So when you start doing this work, it's no different to when you're tuning in with a client in person, but you'd have to take into consideration the same factors, but just, I believe that distance work is to a deeper degree. So what does the ground feel like for you? That's the first thing I ask myself. The first thing I ask myself about my experience is, where is my ground? Mentally, where's my ground? If I'm annoyed with somebody, I can't go into a distance healing session in the quantum field because I'm putting it out there. I'm pouring it out. Our clients might not be clear enough to pick it up. Something in them will pick it up if it resonates with their annoyance. What are we doing there? We're just creating patterns, chords, twanging. We don't need to do that. Check your ground. Let's check where we are. What does stillness feel like? We're all going to experience stillness slightly differently. Find your deepest stillness and work from that space. We all know that, right? Enter the space first, not the person. So just as we would go to somebody's house, I mean, if you're a physiotherapist, you might see this completely differently because they work like they're very manual, right? Their clients love that. I enter the space first before I enter the person. In the quantum field, the person is the space and the space is the person. But I just imagine I'm differentiating, because what I don't want to do is go so immediately in that then I don't know where I am and I'm lost and I don't know what's happening and why. And you're not really going to know why. Well, you might figure it out, but start with the space. The space holds a lot of information. The space that the person's in, you will start to feel and see where they are in their space. Are they taking up their space? Are they hunched over? Are they in a corner? Are they a little black dot in a huge space? What's going on in their space? Are there other people and other things? Are there other energies in the space? It's all information. They might already be in a process. We are in a huge, very important, critical time of lots of changes happening in our evolution. Your client might be joined by people or joined by different types of processes and energies and patterns. And it's good to know that so that you can have a sensitivity to where they currently are. So become a witness. We talked about that before. Become a witness first, rather than, okay, I'm going in to fix a knee and, we're going to give loads of attention to this knee. I'm going to go immediately in and I'm going to start working with the knee. I'm going to give it loads of love and just become the witness to everything, because you'll see why, and ask me why at the end if that doesn't just drop into place. So in terms of like the sensing and the feeling, it's really hard to articulate this world that we live in, right? It's so real to us, but if we try to talk about it, it dissolves like that. And I think that's the beauty and the grace and the mercy. It's really hard to articulate the quantum field, but it's our job to do that so that our clients are clear and that we are clarifying and helping them to clarify their healing journey. So we might feel twists, pulls, tuggings, images. We might hear things. We see things. There's all sorts of things happening, firing in the senses. And it's how much we can allow that is how much we can allow the work. I'm going to say it. The love within the fractals, within the fractals, within the fractals. That's what it is. The more we get out of the way, the more the love permeates their being. If we know how to do that for ourselves, we know how to do that for our clients. If we don't know how to do that for ourselves, we start intervening. I'm not saying intervention is bad. I'm saying intervention comes with responsibility. Okay, notice when you intervene and why. So, sometimes you guys might notice that when you're working with a client, you arrive at a particular, same like if you're working with their body, but you arrive at a particular impasse, whatever that word is, where it's like, okay, it's not moving, nothing's moving, okay, we're here. The quicker you recognize we're here, we're in this place, this is their massive, massive defense, right? It is their defense against love. That's all it is. Of course it will carry a story, of course it will carry trauma, it will carry an emotion, it will carry a memory, it will carry all of the density of that realm. But all it is a resistance to love. the quicker you can get to the fact that that's all it is, the quicker you can support the undoing of the resistance. Because you've already come into a place of love and compassion. If you're like focusing on the fact, oh, it's really, really tight in that hip and it's feeling really jammed, can you just breathe into that? You are adding density, density, density. It's not bad, but it's going to just take you longer. It's going to slow down the process, right? Because you've got a story now to work through, and a story is another pattern, right? In another pattern. So a lot of this that I'm explaining is the way I work. So if it sounds really bizarre or really different, or you're like, no way. I mean, it's personal, right? We have to all find our ways. And this is again why it's important to choose your clients carefully. Because if a client comes to you with a tight hip and wants distance healing work, you start talking about letting the love in, they're going to think you're bonkers. So where you are, what you have a natural inclination for in the field, how you want to work, how you want to dialogue through with that client, find the client that's resonating so that you can co-create together, rather than it being okay, I have this service, I offer distance healing. Would you like to receive my service? It's like, we didn't become osteopaths, so let's not pretend that we are. We are the feeling, sensing, we are. So let's be what we are, be who you are, and do the work that resonates with you safely. Okay, what was my last point? That was it. My protocol. So I've already got into this a little bit. So assess the suitability and the healing goals for the client. Who are they? Where are they in their healing journey? It's a good idea for you to look at your client base historically and figure out, you probably already have this in your mind anyway, but just to put it down and go, okay, these are my buckets of people. These are the kind of journeys that my people go on through the type of therapy that I offer. And I can see that all of my clients fit into these types of, they're in these kind of psychological zones, awareness zones within themselves. Are they ready for this type of work? Do you want to work with them? Is it a match? Can you build a relationship? So key. It's nothing worse than opening up this quantum field for a client and then they have one session and they're like, they have no idea how to integrate what's just happened. You will be surprised how scary it is for those of you that work with trauma. You'll know, because it's so scary for a client to feel better. Especially, like I got this a lot when I was doing the hands-on work. Clients were scared that they were getting better because they're like, shit, now what? Imagine they're getting better over a phone call. That's even more trippy, right? These people have been maybe chronically ill. Maybe they've been holding stuff for their parents for the last 30 years and then suddenly they have a Zoom call with you and it's gone. Like, what else is coming in to support that new awareness, to support the energy system that's now completely changed? It affects their emotional bodies. So the container, the intention, I like to work with clients on a program because I can't have people dropping in and out of the field. So figure out the way that you can work with clients safely, that works with you, that feels right, has to feel right for you. Phone, Zoom, offline. I do some sessions offline. Now I'm starting to do more just by keeping the client on the line. But if I feel like they really need that space to themselves to just really be on their own and they're capable of being on their own in that space, then I'll do the work offline and then check in with them and send them, let them know what was done. If you're working with them on the line, it's really, really powerful to get their feedback because you can go from asking 2 questions and you can take a person who has very few experience, a big willingness, but very few experiences of finding their own inner healer. You can take them to really recognizing it's them that's doing the work, it's their body, it's their field, within a matter of 2 questions. In person, my experience is that work can take weeks, sometimes months, right? Why? Why is it quicker in distance work? Because I believe a client is in their sovereignty. They're in their space. They can't blame your hands. They can't say, as they often like to do, oh my God, that was so amazing. Thank you so much. Wow, you've got magic hands. I can't believe you released that for me. Like, they can't do that because they're there with their body, having to witness that their body is the healer and that they are the healer and they have the power. That is very empowering for clients. It's also very scary, right? It's like being woken up from a dream or from a nightmare. I like to think that we wake clients up gently from their nightmares. So be sensitive, but do invite them to feedback during the session. Just describing, no thinking. They will start to, if they're not sure about what sensations are passing through, they'll start to talk and go, I'm thinking. Try to support them to just avoid the thinking and reassure them that we can think about it at the end of the session and integrate it and put it all together, because thinking creates density in the field. It takes them away from the accelerated process that's happening, the accelerated healing process. Invite them to just let go of their minds. And this is going to vary client to client. Check that ask them, do you feel safe? I think this is really important. It's a rhetorical question. When you're in their field, when you're together in a field with a client, you know when they're feeling safe or not, right? If you don't know, you shouldn't be in that field with them, or you should be paying more attention. You're asking a rhetorical question. Why? Because the power of being in that quantum field and have all of those processes happening, the power of a human being to be there and say, yes, I feel safe. The immediate transformation, everything just like quadruples in speed. Everything just lights up. Why? Because they are acknowledging they're safe in their power. So I like to do that as a little, I don't know, you want to call it a hack, or it's also a really nice way to ground and nurture the client and just hear it from them and hear how they speak about their safety, hear how readily they offer it, and hear how surprised they are by, yeah, I am feeling safe. You're going to get loads of different responses, right? But do ask, because the day we don't ask is the day we have a client that starts to feel unsafe for varying degrees of reasons. Invasive energies coming in, emotional content coming up that isn't recognized as emotional content, etc., etc. So just ask. Focus on the fractals. So focus on the purity, please. Do not focus on the story. Just let it be. What is being released is happening faster than what you can describe. So by the time you're talking about, oh, I can sense that stuckness in your cervical spine. Yeah, it's feeling a little bit compressed, blah, blah. By the time you've done that, you've missed a massive light years of opportunity, because it's going and gone, right? Try to be as light in the field like Mother Earth. There's this lightness, right? Just to smile and witness, and not because you're being airy-fairy, right? When you can do that, you are a very strong container, very strong. And you can come in with the 2D, 3D interventions, etc. when you need to, but your being, this is what I mean, your being in the space is light and accepting, and it's okay, whatever. Let it come. Because you're not attaching a story to anything. Stay in your highest vibration. This will not always be easy. We all know this from our work. As soon as a client starts thinking, they're taking you to a lower vibration. They're asking you to meet me here at the mental level. It's a lower vibration. Healing doesn't occur at the thinking level. Deep, 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 profound healing and transformation does not occur in the mind. So recognize where they're inviting you to go with them, right? You've got to recognize yourself here in this space as a quantum being. You are able to be in two places at the same time, because that is the quantum mechanic mystery. So you can be attending to their mind, and you can simultaneously be completely forgetting that everything that they've just said to support the higher vibration that was trying to come through, that they're trying to suppress by bringing in the mind. You attend to both, not one or the other. Why do you attend to both? Because you can. Because you are vast. You are the whole field. That takes some practice. But you will see the results in your clients and how quickly they transform. Disengaging, really, really important. If you're really sensitive, you want to make sure that you are disengaging, right? Because otherwise, you will still feel their presence and their field. They've got on with their day and they're feeling great. And they are like, hey, they're telling all their friends and their partners, like, I just had a great healing session. Like, I'm feeling really good. And you're there and you're like, why am I feeling that? Like, I can feel their stuff. Yeah, you can. And it's not your job to. So figure out the time that you're getting paid for and decide for yourself whether you want to do overtime, right? It's really common to find therapists. And then they cry about it and they're like, oh my God, I'm such an empath. Yeah, we have to learn how to create our own space that is clear and pure and uninterrupted. Because if we're working with multiple clients a day in this quantum space, right, it can get very intense. It's very different from someone coming in, 7-8 clients a day, leaving your space, right? Why? Because psychologically, of course, we're all in the same field all the time, but psychologically for you, you've got a cut-off point because they have walked out. Don't celebrate your wins too much either, because they also reverberate in your field. When you're going, whoa, like that was amazing. Like, they got a massive transformation in like 20 minutes. Like, the more you do that, the more you're staying in process. So now then it becomes about your process. So you just want to let it all go. That's so much harder to say than it is. So much harder to do than it is to say. Letting go. I know there's going to be questions about that at the end. Follow up with your client. You're all going to have your different ways of following up. I think if clients are trusting us right now to do distance work in this time of, I'm going to put it in inverted commas, crisis, we need to really honour that and just check in. It doesn't have to be immediately after. It doesn't have to be the next day. Again, feel it. I've checked in with my clients sometimes 5 days later because I can feel it that I need to check in now. And it was important for me not to check in earlier, because otherwise you become like a robot. Every time you do a session, you're checking in. Just to check in, how are you? It gets tedious, it gets tiring, it's not authentic. Check in when you need to check in. They're paying you for your sensitivity and for your attunement. Use it. Don't just use it when you're in the healing session. Use it as much as you can. Client communications, checking in. And it's amazing what response you get. Because when you are authentic, what happens? They are authentic. So when you check in, when you feel it's the right time and you really want to know, they will feel it and they will open up to you. And that's what we want. Otherwise, we get into ping pong, email ping pong, where we go back and forward, or we're checking in, but we're like, they're telling us that they're okay, but we kind of know they're not, and we're like, oh, okay, cool, like, would you like to arrange another session? Scrap all of that. Really, really attune to your clients and figure it out. It's not easy. It's really not easy. I've talked through most of these. I'm going to skip some of them. And you're all going to get this presentation anyway, so you can read through it in your own time. But I think it's really, really important to consider the trauma, however you want to define trauma. That's a thesis in itself, but consider the history of a client. Because yes, we might be able to perform miracles with them because they are the miracle maker and so are we. But if a client has had chronic fatigue for 20 years and has built a life and identity on it, you come along in 2 sessions and take them to such a high vibration, which is possible to do, that it all falls away. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but I'm saying that it might not be easy to integrate. Integration is so key when it comes to distance work, right? Especially now, because there's so much going on in the world. So please support the integration. If you know that your client, you will know a client that needs integration work more than another, because they will give you the signs, right? Some of those signs, I'm going to give one example because there's so many signs. One example, you do a massive, beautiful piece of work with them, very healing, takes them to the next level. The sessions after that, they will need to talk. They will talk. They will tell you stories. They might let you do work, but they are telling you, I need to integrate. Don't open any more boxes. Don't give me any more. I need to just... These are often clients that are in very early stages of their healing journey, or who are in advanced stages of their healing journey and are opening up to massively higher vibrations that are leading to big, big shifts in their system. So bear in mind the integration. That's a whole nother presentation, isn't it? We could talk about integration. Like, we don't talk about integration enough. Let's talk more about integration. Inner resourcing, we've touched on that in the integration. Where are they in their process? Other support systems. Look, this is really important right now. Big picture context, right? We've got a world where all these people who were ill, sick, emotionally unbalanced, struggling with life, they all had talking therapists to go see, they were getting their massages, they were going to see their physiotherapists for their pain, they had their osteopaths for their spines, they had their GPs for their pills, they had their friends, they had their family, they had the gym, right? All of that has just been taken away. And now, here's us. We're stepping in and we're going, we can do this by Zoom. Do you know how trippy that is for that average person? We need to be really careful about what support systems people have in place and how we are potentially being recreated as a support system, right? Choose your clients wisely. Do you want to be a client's distance healer, talking therapist, integration therapist, somatic experiencing therapist, guide, friend, because they're lonely too, health advisor? These are lots of roles that you're not being paid for, right? That you're also probably not qualified to do. I know I'm not. So I need to stick to my lane, stick to my guns. If I know a client has had, we're going to come to this at the case studies at the end. If I know a client has had all these support mechanisms in place and has been taken away and it's just me remaining because I can do this work, yeah, my instinct might be, great, yeah, let's do this work, because I can, and I get paid for it. We need to think about our clients first before we think about ourselves, because when we think about our clients, that is what makes us thriving in our practice. That's what helps us to thrive in our own practice, when we put them first. So I hope that makes sense. The final one is relationship and communication. If you get a client that is really, really sketchy with the communication, be really clear about what that process is going to look like for them when you start working by distance, or if you start working by distance, because communication is much easier when the client's turning up, because they have a physical location. It's like they have an appointment with their GP, right? They have a physical place to go where they get something done. Suddenly, you're calling them and they're in their living room. Communication, who's around them. Things might come up, and we need to consider how we're preparing our clients for this work. Relationship is their trust. I think this goes, I'm not going to dwell on it, because we all know that the fundamental basis of all of this that we're doing with each other is trust. Contraindications. This is such a long slide. I'm gonna just really try to fly through this. I hope you guys are still awake. Contraindications or considerations. I'm not here to tell you that these are contraindications to distance healing work. I'm not here to tell you what to do, how to do it, how not to do it. I'm just here expressing what I consider important for my practice and for my space. If a client is confused about their healing goals, would you dive in with this distance healing with them? I wouldn't. I would invite them to clarify what they want, what they need. If they don't know what they need, then there's a bit of a process to be had, a bit of a communication, dialogue, a bit of seeking, a bit of exploration. I personally don't think the distance space, the distance healing space, is where that happens. I see it as an accelerated space of healing, but I think the mind doesn't really belong in that space, and that's why the quantum world is not for the mind. Do the preparation with the clients in a different space up front before you start working with them. If a client is very, very disembodied, or is having dissociative experiences spontaneously and is not aware of what they are, how they are being taken out of body or leaving, how it's serving them as an expansive experience, if they don't have that ability to discern what the hell is happening to them, be careful. So you're going into distance work. It's also very important to consider the frequency changes that are happening, not just collectively, but also personally. When you start allowing somebody into that very high frequency, often, and they're going in, I'm going to talk about this more at the end, or maybe offline, because it's quite specific, and their body and emotions haven't caught up, it can be a bit of a mismatch, right? Which is why we come back to integration. If a client cannot fully acknowledge their process, i.e. they still think that you're the healer, they still think that you're going to take something out of their system and make them feel better, if they're still in that place, their process is more likely to be longer than a person who can own it. So I personally avoid working with people who are in that place via distance. I just don't see that it fits. If they have an active long-term substance addiction, the energetics of this are major. You guys that have worked with addicts will know it completely changes the field, and it will completely change yours. The work is different. The quantum field, for me, is not the space to be working with someone who has a long-term active addiction, right? We need to start here. We need to start in the very basics of embodiment. That's my opinion. You might get someone else that's like, I've had amazing results with Reiki with addicts. Great. I wouldn't go there personally. If the client is not in a safe space, and I have had this, be careful. We don't know what's going on in people's homes. Domestic abuse, fraught tensions, the tension of having to be at home with a partner all day long, and children. If safety doesn't just mean domestic violence, although I have put that down, safety means space and peace. You take someone to out here, healing, and everything's being reworked and energized, and then the kid comes crashing into the room, bang, shuts them down, brings up like the old defense mechanism of shock. Like, let's make sure it's our job to prepare our clients. Please lie down, be somewhere comfortable. Where do you feel most comfortable in your house? Okay, blah, blah, blah. Like, let's do that due diligence for them. People are in all sorts of conditions right now. They're sometimes not thinking clearly for themselves. Let's help them. I've talked a lot about the relationship and all of this stuff. You guys can ask me about this offline if you like. Be careful about therapist dependency at this point in time, because clients often don't have anywhere else to go, right? And it's going to get even more intense because they're not seeing people, they're not seeing friends, family, but they've got you, the all-empathic therapist that's taking them to these beautiful places and healing them. Be careful. Don't want to get in that. You don't want to fuel and feed that. You're taking their power away. As a therapist, PTSD, I've written that. I'm just going to mention that, PTSD. I wouldn't work by distance with anyone who has PTSD. Because I personally believe that physically, it's so important. The physical safety is so important. I've had clients with PTSD who merely lying or sitting next to me is triggering a response. So be really, really careful. Unless you're an absolute pro expert, like PTSD and these types of like addictions, like you're working in this space and it's really your bread and butter and you get it and you know them and you know your clients and you've got such a solid relationship, then yeah, okay, maybe you might want to go there. Therapists, if you're totally new to distance work, be careful. Get some practice. Get a lot of practice. Practice as much as you can all day, every day. If it's not with other people, your friends and family, it's with your own body. Because I wouldn't do this work if I had even a single grain of self-doubt. I'm being completely straight up. I wouldn't do it. Why? Because I love myself. I love myself enough to not put myself in that position, because I don't want to be self-doubting myself in my living room, wondering about what happened. Did I do the right thing? What happened with that client? Oh, was that? I don't want to do that to myself. Not right now with all of this going on. We've got enough to think about. We really have to look after ourselves first before we can look after other people. If this is new for you, contact me afterwards. If you're still interested to do this type of work, there are people out there that are training therapists in distance work all around the world and different healing modalities. You can take a course. Skewed intention. Are you doing this work because you want to pay your bills and keep your clients, as against serve your clients? When we talked about the quantum field and the power of intention to create force in the field, you are putting that in the field. Be very careful. What we put in the field is what we get back. If you have a skewed intention, your client might not know it. They might think you're amazing. You're the best therapist in the world. You always, always get them. Deep down in your heart, you know where you are. Your heart knows. In that quantum field, there's nowhere to hide. It's there. So, watch yourself. If you're not familiar with working with the field, if you're not familiar with working with space and creating space in your own system consistently, reliably, why would you do that with anyone else? That's what I would wonder. It's like, kind of like if you're a yoga teacher, if I have not mastered the move, who am I to teach the move? I cannot. Because I haven't embodied it. I don't know what it's like to go through the process and come out the other end. So there is something to be said about familiarity, right? Now, in this lifetime, we may not be familiar with the field, but the quantum field is as old as we are, or we are it. So if you guys open up to the vastness of yourselves, you will be guided by real wisdom, right? And then that's when you start to see the courses are not necessary. I said that off record. So courses are sometimes useful, but what I'm trying to say is open up to the mystery. Because when you do, any self-doubt will just drain away. And what you will be left with is you, yourself. And that's the place where you operate from. Moving on, case study. First, I'm just going to check that everyone's still awake. How long is your session? We finish at 7:30. I've only got a few more slides. Hold on. I want to check something. I want to check in with all of you guys. I want to just take you all off mute for a second. How's everyone?
Good.
Is this
Good. Good.
Okay. It's 7:07. I said I would end this at 7:30. I have 3 case studies to go through. I'm probably going to run to 1:45. If you have to leave, absolutely fine, because I'll send you this recording. Just let me know in the chat. If you can stay, I would love you to stay, and I'm not going to try to take up too much more time. While I've got you all here, can I just ask you, would you prefer to do a longer Q&A, all of us together, and 1 case study? Or would you prefer 3 case studies and a shorter Q&A? Hit the chat. If you want a long Q&A, type Q&A. We're going to go with the majority vote because apparently that's democratic. James, it looks like you're on a beach.
Yeah,
Is that one of those false backgrounds?
it is. Yeah. I was there last year.
So we've got Q&A 1, 2, 3, 4, and we've got case studies 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we've got someone who said both. Look at how balanced we are, guys. We are completely balanced. I'm going to do something in the middle, right? We're going to run to 1:45. I'm going to talk faster. I'm going to do 2 case studies. We're going to do a Q&A, and then we're going to close. Let's do this. Okay. I want to pick my most interesting Q&A.
Do you want to mute us all again?
Yeah, thank you. Okay, mute all, mute all. Right. I'm going to talk to you guys about Mary. Mary's a real client. She's a real human being. Mary and I work together. No, first I'm going to talk to you about, I want to do 2. I'm going to talk to you about Anna. Anna is a real human being. She's a vet. Anna and I worked together for 6 months. We resolved IBS, anxiety. I can't even read what that says. Oh, body aches, body stiffness and aches, and a feeling of being lost in life. During the work, hands-on work, childhood sexual abuse, ancestral trauma, and wound blocks began to reveal themselves through her physical body, but she was not able to look at her wounding. Through therapy, Anna learned self-care techniques and tools, and by the end of 6 months, was meditating every morning. This was a woman who could not lie down on the table and could not bear to feel her body. She began to talk to me about feeling very ready, wanting to release everything, wanting to see the truth, wanting to know all the details. These are her words, her language. I want to know everything. I want to see the details. I want to see everything. Everything's starting to make sense for me now. Why I've got the aches and everything that I've had, and why when I have sex I can't actually like embrace it and engage with it. Everything's starting to make sense. I know it's related to something. I don't know what that thing is, and I want to see it. You're my therapist. I've been working with you for 6 months. I want to come out of COVID, and I want to have let go of everything. Let's hold. I'm not going to tell you the answers for these. Did I work with her? But these are the real life cases and situations that we are getting as therapists, right? One more case study. Mary, real person. Mary and I worked together for 3 weeks on a weekly basis. Pay attention to the details in these case studies because they're going to give you big clues. Orphaned at 7 years old. She was diagnosed with ADHD, personality disorder, emotional dysregulation, was a sex and alcohol addict for 20 years. She finally got clean and vowed to heal. She attended her sessions on time, every single week on time, not just with me, but with all of her other therapists. However, she was often incoherent and was easily confused. She didn't have a job. She didn't enjoy her home life. She struggled with group situations because of a lack of trust. But of course, now the job's taken away and she has to live in her home and the group situations are taken away. So there are no support systems in place. She was making steady progress in therapy in just 3 weeks. She was also seeing a talking therapist and was in a Alcoholics Anonymous group for recovering addicts. She wanted to continue healing with me by distance. Did I work with her? Can you put your hand up if you're finding this interesting? I am. I'm finding this really interesting. You know why? Because when I was training, no one ever told me about this shit. This is real. We really, really have to care about our clients because this is the real stuff that we're dealing with. One more case study. I feel really passionately about this. Real person, right? Real story, different name, slightly different details. Sarah and I worked together almost weekly for 5 months. We resolved stiffness in the cervical spine, carpal tunnel syndrome, weak wrists, which she put down to early onset osteoarthritis, as well as a pervading feeling of being lost in life, which she didn't know why, right? Sarah's openness to both her emotional and spiritual worlds were evident in her healing work with plant medicines and in her self-practices. She didn't love her job, but it was stable. She wasn't in love with her fiancé, but he was stable. She had a strong group of friends around her. She contacted me after we'd completed our work together for distance healing, stating that she was still feeling a bit achy. Did I work with her? Interesting, isn't it? Recommended reading. This is a recommended reading, guys. You want to learn about doing distance work? This is the recommended reading. Read your body, it's free. Read your field, it's free. Read everything. Read, read, read. The more you read, the less self-doubt you will have. Until there won't be any left, you just know what you're doing in that space. Please read your bodies all day long. They are your books. They are. You can cross-check against a book to check that you're not going mad, or as I'm going to set up, a practitioner support group so that you guys can have someone to bounce things off and we can come together to support each other, and crazy stuff happens in the quantum field. Let's just put it that way. Finally, before we go into Q&A, these are a couple of books which are really interesting, which you might want to read. I'll post them in the chat as well. Healing with Form, Energy and Light. That is what we're doing, right? We're healing form through energy and light. That's the quantum field. The quicker we can attune to that, the easier it is for us to just let things happen and get on with it. Quantum Mind and Healing, how to listen and respond to your body systems, your body first. And Quantum Resurrection, healing with vibrational frequency and the law of attraction, right? You can get really hippie about this law of attraction and all that stuff, but when you go into the quantum field and start working with it for yourself, that is your tutorial on life and how to work with clients. That will give you everything you need. If you want to come and experience me working by distance, I do group healing sessions every Wednesday night. And I have one on Saturday that I'm doing in the afternoon. That's tomorrow. Come and experience it. You will then be able to see what's happening in the field. Practice. If you want to practice field work, come to the field. Come to the group field. Feel, see, watch, attune, ask me after. This is how we learn, right? Our new training ground is no longer the classroom, and it's no longer the books. Our new training ground in this ascension, high vibration, where we're going, where we're in, is us. We are the field that we learn from. If you want to work with me one-to-one for real deep transformation, contact me. Question time. Now I get to take everybody off mute. 1 second. There we go. I'm going to start with your question. There's one in the chat, I believe. Pauline, the group healing on Wednesday was amazing. Highly recommend this. Yes.
Hopefully, yeah.
Come for healing, but also come to. Why not use it to learn? Why not?
Yeah, brilliant.
Pauline, say a little bit about that.
Can you hear me, everyone?
Yeah.
Do you know, it was an hour of personal therapy. It was amazing. And you were so good at directing us, guiding us. And we could definitely feel a field of energy. It was just so powerful. I loved every minute.
I'm really glad you came, Pauline. Thank you for your observation and
Beautiful.
thank you. I have worked hard to create a field that is pure, and
Yeah.
stand by that. I stand by the fact that it's safe and it's pure and it's clear. So that's why I'm inviting therapists who are sensitive to the field to come and watch. Right? You might pick up on some stuff that I need to learn too. We're here to support each other to become our best and greatest selves. Please, if you've got questions, put your hand up or type in the chat.
Actually, I do. You talked about integration. Is it the same as resourcing?
Yeah.
No.
Who wants to answer that?
I would say no, it's not.
Okay.
It's Emma. Hello.
Hi, Emma.
Hello. I feel like I've met before, but that's obvious. I didn't meet you in Turkey, did I, once?
Who's that?
It's Emma.
Oh, there you are. No, you haven't. But hi.
Hello. For me, integration is what happens. I mean, this has been touched on. It's what happens afterwards. And resourcing is how well equipped you are to, that person is, to deal with what's happening afterwards. And that takes a full step backwards to, is this person the right person to be working with this in the first place? So you need that, to know that they have the resources available to be able to integrate safely. That's my feeling on it.
So would they be tools that they use, or meditation? What would you call that?
Yeah, but also, as has been touched on in this time, real things, tangible things, because that's what we're lacking at the moment. Sadly, we haven't got people around us, as you were saying, you know, the GP, everybody else. So yes, it's your tools that you go to, but there's dualities, and this is great work, but we still have these physical bodies. So for me, it would need to be a blend of real things as well, just to keep, because otherwise you can float off into that space and be really freaked out by it.
I'll give you an example. I think that you thank you so much, Emma, for mentioning that. It's like a fine distinction, but it is there. I'm just going to give, because I think you can put words on it, but I just want to give you guys an example. I've been working with somebody who, over the long term, very high level of awareness, been working in person and have been working now by distance. Awareness, he wants to go very, very deep. Physical body is in a certain place, structurally. Emotionally, he's becoming much more open. He went through a massive, massive release that was not just personal, but was collective, related to the masculine, related to murderous rage. For him to release that fully from his system, and for it to come out, required permission, but also required distance, because he did not want to hurt, the masculine does not want to hurt the feminine. So doing it in person, screaming like that, so loud, the grief, right? No man's going to do that in front of you in a therapy session, right? The distance work's very powerful, but then what happens? When we come to completing the process, which is anchoring him in his divine masculine, in his highest frequency, which is very, very still, very polar opposite to the raging, murderous energy, it's very all-knowing. He can hold both. Of course he can. Every single human being can hold the polarities. How well they hold the polarities is a different question. So he holds it and he stays in it and he enjoys. Wow, beautiful. He's anchored, he's still, feeling the benevolence and the mercy of that. What happens in the next session? Straight into his head. Doesn't know what to do with it. Awareness is coming. Suddenly he's becoming aware of why he is the way he is and his ancestral stories and blah, blah, blah. Where's all this come from? It's come from him anchoring in stillness. But while it's useful to him and it's useful to the therapeutic process, it's a lot for this guy to carry, to know what to do with when he's sitting in his bedroom with his flatmates or on their Game Boys, right? He's not that young, but you know what? You know, he's like 20, 28. So it's integration and inner resourcing, energetic integration. We need to be sensitive to it because the client won't be. Is that helpful? It's a big area. Any other questions? Because I've got some. No other questions. That's so interesting.
I have a question.
I want to do a poll.
How long is the sessions, your sessions?
My sessions are between 45 minutes and an hour.
Mm-hmm.
The actual work, it depends on the client.
And you charge for the whole hour, or?
Yes. I charge for the whole hour. It's a really good question, and it's not a straightforward one, what you've just asked, Marcia. Because during that 1 hour, so much 1 hour slot, if you were to break it down, it looks so different for each client. Today, I had a client who spent 48 minutes talking.
Mm.
And I recognise that this is where we are. There's a lot that's been communicated here, right? It's also about, I'm not talking therapist. How much do I allow this to continue for? But we are going to get people that cannot feel and cannot go in right now. And yet we are holding the space for that. So it's very, very grey. All of this is very grey. Then you get another person. The minute you call them, they're like, okay, I'm getting my pillow. I'm going to lie down. Line goes quiet. Right. We haven't even checked in on what you want from this session.
Yeah.
I had a client yesterday, did so much releasing. She's a therapist, trained therapist, craniosacral therapy, pouring it all out, highly attuned, showed her a few blocks, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, got it, like very astute, energetically, could see, could feel it. And I said, what do you want? I said, I want to meet the beloved. Bang. Boom. Who's ready? Goes in, she goes into the stream. She's in the stream, receiving, receiving, receiving. I said, bow down and receive. What do I do? She's in the stream. So I'm there like, this is for her. I'm being told this is for her. So now what do I do as a therapist? I'm there being paid to hold space, but I'm also don't want to interfere with her very, very sacred experience of being in the stream of the divine. And yet I know that this is an easy place for her to access all the time, so I want her to make the most of it. But we've got to think creatively, right? I need to hold that space and hold the boundary. I'm being paid to hold for the full hour, but I know that her being in the stream is only going to happen probably a few times in her lifetime. So I want her to make the most of it. So what do? I think on my feet. I tell her where she is. I ask her if she wants to stay in the stream, if she feels safe there, she's happy to receive, and I tell her when I'm going to contact her again. So that she can make, because when we're in the quantum field, we need to forget about time and space to a certain degree. That's her experience. She's worked for it. She's not just paid me for 1 hour. She's worked her whole life to purify herself to be able to be in that place. She finally found it with me. What am I going to do? Close the session down and say, okay, well, it was really lovely to watch you in that beautiful street. No, receive. And when you're finished, I'll be here. But then it comes to this, okay, am I disconnected? Am I not disconnected? Right? So when we start doing this work at depth with people, there's so much that comes up, and it's beautiful because it really challenges us. I get challenged anyway. Any more questions? Otherwise, I'll read a couple from the...
I've got a question.
Hello, what's your name?
Hi, Lucy.
Hi, Lucy.
Hi. I just have questions mostly about the disengagement process. I know you touched on that, and I struggled with it just when I was learning regular biodynamic work, and I'm now that I'm doing remote work, I'm finding it a challenge again, and even more so. So my first remote session was incredibly powerful. A huge shift happened for the client, but within about half an hour after that session, I got physically ill. I ended up purging, I think, for her. It was sort of like what would happen in a plant medicine session where I vomited, purged, and then felt better. I have sort of taken some strategy since then to protect myself, but I still find that I carry a bit of residue. I feel a bit drained, or I carry some of the stuff. And so when we're working in this wide field, I think I'm struggling more with how to kind of disengage, purify my own field and space, and sort of revert back to my own my own stuff and leave their stuff with them.
Mm. It's really interesting what you've mentioned, and I think we've all experienced that. It wouldn't be doing you a service to the powerful work that you're doing with your clients if I was to sit here and go, oh, just disengage by closing everything down, saging your wrists, imagine white light coming through your system, and there you go. Doesn't work, right? We all know that doesn't work. The only way that you can be fully, fully, fully clear and protected is to know yourself. And at any time something happens like this, to look inside and go, what's it teaching me? How quickly can I learn it? How quickly can I see it? Where is it? Where is it? Seek it. It will sometimes, these are your initiations. We have to be willing to initiate ourselves to purify ourselves. Yeah, there are certain, I'm talking about different dimensions, right? Okay, there's certain practices that I would expect any therapist working in this space has, right? A grounding practice that works, that they know when they've hit the ground and they know when they're still. A practice to see their field where they know if they are clear and they know if they're not and they need to do something about it. We can sit and talk all day long about these tools, about yoga, about sage, about praying, about, I don't know, all this stuff that you guys already know about, right? But I know that you're not asking that question from that place because you've probably already got all those tools. Am I right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So what you're talking
Yeah,
about.
I think it was just opening to a more powerful space, and I guess I just wasn't prepared for engaging on that level. I think it was my first session. So yeah, I think I've learned since then, but even I did a session today and I feel a bit like I'm carrying some of it.
Okay. And what work do you do when it's not distance? What's your practice?
Biodynamic craniosacral therapy. I trained at Karuna.
And how often have you had experiences of this challenging disengagement, as we might call
When I was training, I had a lot of trouble with it, and one of my tutors said it was probably because I'm a kinesthetic sensor. I feel everything that's happening in their field in my body. So, but I definitely, over the 2 years of training, I got on top of that, and it wasn't an issue with that work by the end of training. But now that I'm in this work, I think it's I have to now learn new practices. And yeah, I was just wondering if anyone out there has any tips, yourself or anybody else in this group, on how they do that.
Does anyone want to share anything? I'm actually doing a whole session on this. You're welcome to come along. Because I'll send you the details. There's things that we can do outwardly, physical things. There's things that affect the inner world. There's things that we can do inwardly on an energetic level. There's things that we can do inwardly on a psychological level. And everything affects the outer and the outer affects the inner, right? So what we're trying to do every single day through our work is calibrate our outer practices and our inner practices, mental, emotional, psychological, energetic, until we are aligned like that. Because when we are here, nothing moves. Everything moves around us, but we are still. It's like taking loads and loads of different tools at different depths and dimensions and bringing them together. This is your integration. For us, right? This is, as therapists, this is our integration space. That's the premise, philosophy of it. The practicalities of it are going to look so different to everyone. Some people go and stand underneath a tree and they drain immediately everything out. For me, the strongest two things that I'm going to say that have helped me, and I've ended up in A&E with crazy shit, right? Because of my client work. Like, Cara, who's on the line, will tell you what I learned from all of the horrendous crap that I had to go through, that I found really painful and difficult and scary, was two things which sound really simple, but they're not. The first thing is self-love. Airy fairy, right? The deeper and deeper and deeper I loved myself and longed to be with nobody and nothing except myself, the quicker I could discern something's in me, something's here, and it's not mine. The quicker I loved myself and my vibration,
Sorry.
get rid of it, Pauline.
Oh.
I loved myself, the faster my vibration raised, the higher my vibration, the quicker I could discern something coming through that was not mine. So self-love is not just about taking a salt bath. Self-love is deep. It goes so deep. The second thing, before I invite Cara to speak on this, because she's a pro, aren't you? I just dropped you in it. The second thing I was going to talk about when it comes to embrace everything that happens in your mind as an initiation. We have chosen to be here. We're strong enough to be here. It's an initiation. We are learning. If you take yourself into victim like I did, oh my God, I'm getting my liver attacked. A&E will help me. And they just roll me back out and say there's nothing wrong with you. The longer you stay there thinking something is happening to you, the worse this shit gets, right? Something is being offered to you to teach you. Open up to the lessons. Cara, would you like to join in?
Sorry, I was rushing here, there, and everywhere, getting dinner ready and everything. So I said I didn't disturb you with sounds and video. That whole presentation was amazing, absolutely fantastic. Is everyone therapists on here?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You know, you can learn so much from Safa. You know, we can all learn so much from each other. But everything that she said, I'm there nodding in agreement, because it's such powerful work. My mind still gets blown away every single day when we're doing this work, because it is so powerful, and our minds are just, they can't handle it. So it's trusting the beauty that is, and just that unconditional love. That's what it keeps coming back to. And the quicker that you realize that, you know, the less time you'll be fighting against yourselves, basically. So I'm not going to say any more, because I'm loving every moment of this. Well done, you.
What you just said about unconditional love, I think it sounds, when you haven't gone and really deeply explored what that means, it sounds futile or just like so duh. It's not. Unconditional love is nothing except a willingness, an endless commitment and willingness to see yourself in all aspects, dimensions, and to be shown yourself. And the only person that will ever love you is the person that is constantly willing to show you yourself. So when something happens and you're like, I'm feeling nauseous, like something's here, I'm not sure what it, look, ask it. All it is energy. It's just a stream of information. Back to the quantum field. Ask it, what are you trying to show me? It will go like that when you learn the lesson. When you integrate the lesson, you never learn that lesson again. Do you think I ever ended up in A&E again? No. Because I was busy rolling around outside, I was begging for my life. I spent 12 hours thinking I was dying. It was the most horrendous day of my life. It taught me so much. I'm not saying that shit like that never happened again. Of course it did. Not that bad though. Recently, I had an experience of someone's eyes in my field staring. I could feel it. So, what do? If I can't clear it myself, through all of my tools and resources, if I can't, first question I ask myself is, why can I not clear this myself? What has broken down in my integration, right? What am I not willing to see about myself that I now need to be shown by an external party? If my prayers aren't showing me, if my family's not showing me, if life events aren't showing me, if no amount of introspection, journaling, clearing, meditating, blah, 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 if I can't get rid of it, there's something I'm not seeing. Go to someone who can see. Tell them what you need. Don't tell them, oh, I had this session with a client and now I don't feel well. They're going to start working with the wrong pathology. Tell them exactly what I'm telling you. I know this works because I did this. I called up Cara the other day and I said, I need your help. What do you need my help with? I need this, this, and this. There's something I'm not seeing. I need to see it. The minute I saw it, bang. How fast was it?
It was so.
I spent 3 days being rattled and unable to ground. And trust me, I can ground. I ground so deep. What was my lesson? As superhuman as I think I am, I need another human being around sometimes. What was my other lesson? Women are rising high. Find the women that are rising high and connect with them. Since then, the lessons have been flooding in. Deeper connection for me with the feminine, deeper trust, companionship, you know? You guys are not on your own out here in this field of work. We are not on our own. We need to find someone else who can check us energetically, because not a lot of people speak this language. And there are people, what I learned from having to go and find someone else to help me, and it happened in half an hour with Cara, was I'm not alone. Someone will be able to, this is why human beings exist, right? I've got a capacity to see a lot. I don't have the capacity to see everything. We exist to show each other. That is love. That's love. Does that help? I know it's deep. All right, folks. Well, we've just reached 7:42, and if there's no other questions, I want to say a massive, massive thank you to all of you for joining me and for putting your trust in me, because some of you don't even know who I am, and you turned up, and I'm really, really hoping that you got what you needed from this session. No doubt, in a few days, as we try to integrate this work, there will be questions that come up, and as you engage in client work, etc., etc. So stay in touch. Give my Facebook page a like, Camille Healing, and please keep posting the details of sessions we can come to and watch. Come to and heal, come to and play, come to and watch, come to and enjoy. Yeah, James is like, yeah. I in Barbados. Come join my sessions, right? We never know what's going to get triggered. Ideas are going to form. I'm also going to put together a support group for therapists that are working by distance. These types of questions that Lucy asked, we can go into a lot more detail, and actually we can help each other, because I can go, oh, Lucy, what's going on in your gut right now? And you can go, oh yeah. And you can know that I'm doing it from love, right? I'm not doing it for any other reason. And when we start doing that for each other, what do we become? Unstoppable in the field, because we become one giant fractal of love. So, love wins, guys. All right, I love you all so much. Thank you so much for coming along. Enjoy the dinners. I've been fasting all day, so I'm definitely going to enjoy my dinner in maybe 40 minutes. And if you could please leave some feedback for me on this session, please type it in the chat. I would really, really appreciate that, because I've never gone live on webinar to speak about anything, really. So it means a lot to me to be able to, the first people I show are my parents, because a few months ago they thought I was batshit crazy. They called me a witch, they called me a shaman, they called me haram, they called me the devil. They called me everything that they could possibly think of. And now they're like, can you do some distance healing for us? So I love to show them feedback that I get, because then they go, oh, okay, maybe she's not mad. As you can see, I'm still trying to validate myself and my parents. But yeah, I really, really love the feedback. It's also really good for people who couldn't join, who to just get them to watch this material. Something so three. I can't say that word.
I can't spell it. Spell check did it for me.
Ethereal. Very real. Something for everyone. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Really, really appreciating your feedback, everyone. It's really good for my marketing too, just full transparency. Love it. Please like my Facebook page so I can also like yours back. And if anybody wants to work with me one-to-one and experience my work, you are so welcome. It's really nice to reflect on what you picked up that resonated with you. I was so convinced I was going to get heckled, this session. But you guys are really kind. Emma's like, I've got heckle left in me.
I've learned to just keep quiet until I'm asked. I can heckle you if you want me, if you invite me to.
I could see you've got something to say.
Not really. I mean, it's just very nice to be in this space. I suppose wondering if she felt better because you look a little bit better, but not 100%. Is it Lucy? I'm pointing to the lady who had the sickness coming up because of another client. How are you feeling now?
How am I feeling now?
Mm.
Good. No, it's just nice to share these experiences with people who understand and who have a little more experience to draw on than I have in this space. So I think some of what Safa was saying about coming back to the self is resonating. I think I was, looking more at protective mechanisms and grounding and all of those sorts of things, but not really coming back to myself and understanding that it's information. Every experience is information. I did look at it that way, but it's more, I had interpreted as information about the work, but it's actually information about me ultimately, isn't it? So anyway, yeah, it was really helpful. Thank you.
So I'm doing a talk on energetic self-care for empaths and therapists, and we're going to go into this in more detail. So on different levels, there will be different pieces of information, right? I'm aware I've gone straight into the deep and been like, be with yourself, and nothing will touch you, right? And I'm aware that sometimes we need to get to ourselves, which I think is what Emma is referring to. There's certain places that things we need to experience that take us there, that give us a taste of that. So I will be given a kind of an overview of all of that, and we'll go into more detail. So that's going to be in May. I'll let you know. I'll keep you all posted, and I hope you join me at my next series of events or at my group healing. Thank you so much, everyone. Lots of love.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
See you soon.
See you soon, Cara.
See you tomorrow.
I'm gonna finish my dinner.
Oh, did you finish your dinner? Have you just started?
I'm about halfway through.
You're you're multitasking.
Multitask. I didn't want to eat on screen. Next meeting's at 8, isn't it?
What next meeting? Oh yeah, I was already 10 to 8.
Yeah.
That was fun.
To eat fast.
Stay on the line with me for a second, Cara. Bye, Emma.